Today's video is going to be an interesting one because we're going to be talking about Lost Soul Aside. I've had the opportunity to play Lost Soul Aside and I'm hoping to share my thoughts and opinions today with you all. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. As always, got your cool timestamps down below, so if you want to skip to a certain section, feel free to do so. All I ask is you to support the channel and like the video, and if you want to stick around for some more RPG content, then you're already in the right place. Just hit that subscribe button. And for those that want to know, the code for Lost Soul Aside was provided by PlayStation, but it does not affect any of my opinions. These are my opinions and my opinions alone. So let's dive into Lost Soul Aside. Now, I often don't do this, but we're going to get this out of the way straight off the bat. I'm going to talk about graphics and performance. It's not something that usually bothers me, but it seems to be a big subject at hand at the moment because I'm sure as this next week and the next month goes on, there'll be more thoughts and opinions on the game. But right now, review codes didn't go out to content creators and even media outlets till the day of or the day before release. And the main thing that everyone's talking about at the moment is performance and optimization, especially when it comes to the PC, which I can't speak for because I've played on a base PS5 and I've had no problems. I've been playing on performance mode, I've had no graphical glitches, no graphical bugs, no crashes or anything like that. I've had quite a smooth experience. All my issues falls to sound and music. Some sound effects don't hit when they should do, and music often cuts out in the most random places, which can break the immersion when doing the exploration portions of this game. So all in all, when it comes to the performance and the graphics of the game, it's not bad. The graphics kind of remind me of Star Ocean 6 to a certain extent, that kind of budget. Sometimes it shifts to these other cutscenes which look absolutely badass and look like we're watching an episode of the Power Rangers, and then it shifts back to the AA style PS3, which can be a bit daunting, but it has a certain charm to it and I am quite enjoying the game and I'm hoping to dive in a little bit more. And I want to start off with the story. Now, I'm going to admit that the story is the weakest part of the game here for me for a number of reasons. Its cutscene direction and its composition, the voice direction, not its voice actors because there are some good performances here, it's just that some of it doesn't hit very well and the direction they were given just doesn't seem to work right or hit the way it should do. For example, the main character of all things just doesn't seem to be voiced well or directed very well, which is a big flaw when telling a story in the game, and it definitely brought it back a couple of notches for me. But then we have a character like Arena, your dragon companion, of which the voice direction and acting is really good. Dialing it back to the story, we play as Kaiser and he's on a bit of a mission because when invading dimensional beings known as the Voidrax, which sounds like a Power Rangers villain, may I add, take the soul of his beloved sister, Kaiser must embark on a dangerous journey to face this terrifying new threat and save his sister and liberate humanity. So there is a story there, it just doesn't seem to be hitting for me yet. One thing that is hitting though is its gameplay, and I will be starting off with my favorite, exploration first. So at its core, it is a action adventure RPG, which means it has its combat, which we'll talk about in a second, but it has its adventure aspect. And we're going to flash back to the town. You start off in a town. It feels very Final Fantasy VII Remake. Heck, a lot of Final Fantasy vibes I'm getting from Lost Soul Aside. I'm getting Final Fantasy 15. I'm getting Final Fantasy 16, 7 Remake, even a little bit of Versus 13, all crammed into this game. And I'm probably going to be talking about comparisons to Final Fantasy a lot. I'm a Final Fantasy guy after all, so I apologize in advance. But exploration is what you would expect. It does it all right. It could do it better, but I don't really have any big complaints. You have these linear sections that can open up at times. You have your main base of a town where there's chests to find, items to find, shops to go to, NPCs to interact, and everything else in between. And then when it comes to the dungeon portion, these linear dungeons, you are following one path, you are going to one direction, but there are many forks in the road, many places that open up and things to do within that space. Again, chests, items, hidden routes and rewards at the end of those routes, as well as challenges and little platforming mini games and puzzles to solve very early on. You have to solve a platforming puzzle. It can be very simple to get to the golden path part of it, but if you wanted to do a bit of exploration and tinker with the puzzle a little bit more, you can find a couple of hidden items that will help you along the way. Challenges, you get items or these lights in certain order and you get rewards. Just nice little distractions so it doesn't feel so linear and it really does open up. Now these areas, you can take a moment and just take it in. It looks nice, it looks beautiful. Again, reminded me of Final Fantasy VII Remake and the way it handled those small spaces, but you do take that moment to pan the camera and just take it all in because it feels bigger than the space you're actually in. There are things that you collect and Arena does chime in and give you a little bit of context to it, which is nice, but I just think they could do a little bit more, but it isn't to the point where it's unplayable at all. One thing that did surprise me is there's a world map, though I haven't had the chance to explore it, nor do I even know if I can explore it as I'm going to each location from the base town to whatever the next dungeon may be or the next place I need to go next. We're traveling on a boat and it switches to a traditional world map with chibi characters. Very interested to see if they mess with that a little bit more as we get further into the game. That's all when it comes to exploration, so I want to talk about the shining star for me in Lost Soul Aside, which is its combat. Action RPGs aren't typically my jam. I do play them and I do enjoy them, and I must admit Lost Soul Aside does a lot of the combat rather well, and the footage you're seeing probably looks very flashy and looks like I know what I'm doing, but I assure you I am still learning, and this is what the game kind of does as you go on. You get thrown in the intro in like a tutorial or like intro battle where you have a lot of things and then everything's taken away from you and you kind of feel weak, and combat feels very limited for a big portion of the beginning of the game until you unlock more and more things. And while I was in that beginning portion for the first couple of hours, I was like, I don't think I'm enjoying this. But as I started to unlock more abilities, more upgrades, more weapons, unlocking Arena and his powers and the flexibility of that, accessories, weapon, add-ons, and everything else in between, its hooks are now in me and I just can't get enough of it. I want to play more, I want to unlock more, I want to learn about this combat system more and make it look like I know what I'm doing and pull off some really flashy and devastating moves. You attack, you can block, you can dodge, you can perfect block, you can perfect parry, because enemies have certain attack patterns and visual and sound cues. I think playing Expedition 33 has really helped me get timings right on these things, and it feels satisfying to get those perfect blocks. But at the same time, I find myself in situations where I feel like I'm doing well, and then Kaiser just loses all of his momentum, and I kind of just fall down to the floor if I'm in the air, or if I'm already on the floor, I just kind of stop, and I'm like, what to do next? So it's a very, not hit and miss, but there are definitely moments where I'm like, is this me that's made this mistake, or is this the game? Sometimes it's me, but I think that there's definitely some things in the game that can improve. Now, I've mentioned it's gotten better with time. We've got more weapons to mess around with, which you can switch and swap between, which reminds me of Final Fantasy 15. The combat at its core reminds me of Final Fantasy 16. Heck, there's an ability that you use by holding in L2 and R2, which looks like the Garuda abilities from Final Fantasy 16. There are also just general abilities that you can bring to the table that can do AoE damage over time. It can heal you. It's to whatever your playstyle might be, and the game does punish you or reward you when you die a lot. I noticed there was a certain boss, and people might know what this boss is because it's a boss that you don't have any clear direction on how to defeat. It's not very clear, and it's a boss that probably has a little bit too much health and goes on for a little bit too long. But I was constantly dying, and I was getting given this accessory which was increasing over time to give me more defense and more attack. I've not equipped that item because I don't want the game to be too easy for me. I want to learn it, but it's nice that it has there for people that do keep failing and want that little push to just be a little bit more confident with the combat and not worrying about your health. But there's just so much, and sometimes it's explained well, sometimes it isn't explained well. The bosses in particular, there's quite a wide variety, but sometimes you go in there pretty blind and have to die and learn attack patterns and see what this enemy is about before you actually do some damage. And then sometimes you can just button mash and you can get away with it, no problem. There's definitely not a lot of consistency, I guess, when it comes to combat, but it's not to the point where I'm like, nah, I give up on this game, or nah, I don't want to play it anymore. There's just that certain charm to to it that it's just keeping me in and keeping me enjoying it. And that's the overall vibe I'm having with the game. There's definitely a lot of flaws within the game that can be fixed, but there's a certain charm that's just got me hooked, and I want to see this through to the end. But there are things that weave into combat that make combat quite difficult. There are boss rush challenges. There are gates that you find across the world that you can go in and do things within a certain time limit. You have to defeat enemies with a certain HP pool if you want all the rewards and stuff like that. There are challenges to keep people that are wanting more out of the combat staying with it. There are other things involved in combat as well, like using items on your directional pad, and there's a few other things that really mix in. There are definitely stats to think about. So that was combat. There's one more thing I want to touch on, and that's the equipment. We have weapons, but I mentioned that you can get accessories for your weapon. There are normal accessories that you can equip as well as armor, but there's accessories that you can attach to your weapon and that you can give you better break damage. It could give you a certain situation of where you take a certain amount of damage and you block that damage. You can unleash an amount of increased damage for a set amount of time. Things like that. But the thing that really caught me off guard with this is the customization of this. So for example, you get a wolf's head pretty early on, but then it gives you the opportunity to put it on the weapon however you see fit, increase the size, rotate it, flip it, make it small. And I was like, this is different. And then I found myself in this menu longer than you should find yourself in a menu like this, because I wanted my sword to look unique. I wanted it to look badass. I wanted the wolf's head on the left-hand side next to where I hold it, with a phoenix wing coming off the right hand side towards the tip of the blade, and just all these other things that you can attach to it to make the weapon your own. And I guess that leads us to the end of the video here with Lost Soul aside. I now want to flip it over to you because there is a demo out on PlayStation and on PC. So let me know if you've tried that demo and if it's sold you on the game, or if you've already got Lost Soul aside. What are your opinions on it? Because at the moment, as of right now, at the time of this video, it's a bit all over the place. Maybe there might be a couple of more patches out there to fix the main complaints for people, especially on the PC side, because that seems to be where the most performance and optimization issues are. But this game in a nutshell is a weird one, because there's a lot here which would turn me off and make me not want to play the game, but there's a certain amount of charm to it. Maybe it is the Final Fantasy vibes that I'm getting from it, maybe it is the hooks that I have in the customization and the combat, but I'm enjoying this game. Lost Soul aside is an alright game to play, and I am gonna take it to its end and roll the credits. And with that, guys, I will leave it there. Again, get involved in the comments section down below. Thanks again to PlayStation for providing me with a code so I could get my thoughts, opinions, and the gameplay you're seeing together for this video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.